Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
Jon is at the level, as far as UFC is concerned, as far as mixed martial arts is concerned. Jon is at the level. Jon is at the level that Conor is at, to where he could select.
I thought you were about to say Michael Jordan or some crazy
relax.
shit like that.
To where
I'm leaving, man.
But
if you would have said that, I was leaving.
To be honest, Jon is in a sense the Michael Jordan that we've seen in MMA.
No, he isn't.
You don't think so?
You don't interview?
You don't think so?
You just want to be done?
No.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds Podcast. I'm your co-host, Boomer Gato, the cat that hands you your goat back. And to my left over here is the main man, Jesus De Niro, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die. Deadly ideas, blend spicier content than your girl's OnlyFans. What is going on, everybody? Before we get into tonight's topic, please make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit. And with that, let's get right into it. So, listen, I watched an interview yesterday, the day before, between Daniel Cormier, Usman had him on, and they were basically discussing the topic of Jon Jones. Now, Usman referred to Jon Jones as the Michael Jordan of the UFC, to which DC took great disrespect from that. Now, listen, I'll be honest with you. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with DC in saying that Michael Jordan, Jon Jones comparison is a bad one. I kind of agree with that point. DC's not the one that should be making this, and here's why. If you watch the way that DC responded to Usman's description of Jon Jones, DC was like taking it like he was being personally disrespected. And listen, you could say a lot of things about DC. He was a great UFC champion, both in the light and heavyweight division. One of the top tier heavyweights, top tier lightweights. Potential of going down as one of the greats. That being said, you lost to Jon Jones, big dog. I know. Some people are going to say picograms. Cocaine, everything else under the sun. I know, I get it. I'm with you. Part of the reason why I'm not saying DC's completely wrong. But DC's not the one to be making this one. Now, yeah, some of you may be asking, look, he shared the ring with Jon Jones. Why is he not the one to make it? Because, again, just like it did in this interview with Usman, he comes off as bitter. He comes off as a hater. And here's the thing. When you can't be unbiased in a topic, when you're discussing amongst your peers, when you can't be unbiased in a discussion, whatever it may be, people can't take you seriously because they don't know if it's coming from you're evaluating it fairly, or you're mad and you're butthurt that you lost to the man more than once and you can't get over it and you never will get over it. And I'll be honest with you. Listen, I don't think, generally speaking, DC is a selfish guy when it comes to this type of stuff. But let's keep it a buck here. He definitely comes off that way anytime Jon Jones get brought up. And listen, I get it, man. You know, to a certain degree, DC feels he's got cheated because, yes, Jon Jones beat him, but in DC's mind, maybe, it was the drugs. It was the drugs that gave him the edge over DC, and that's why he feels he got cheated and he never really got a chance to fully rectify it. I'll be honest with you, I don't think that's it personally. I think Jon Jones would have beat DC anyway, with or without the drugs, picograms or not. But again, DC, you're not the one that should be making this argument. Whether Jon Jones is or is not the Michael Jordan of this of the UFC is something that you yourself should probably not be in a discussion with, because you yourself are clearly biased. What do you think about that, my man?
Listen, man, I agree with you. It's definitely a case of right message, wrong messenger. And look, as bitter as he is, can we really shrug off entirely what Daniel Cormier said? Emotions aside, I will give you the emotions of how he must have been feeling in the moment, the amount of times that he's been in the ring with Jon Jones, how many times he's been denied a title shot by Jon Jones. The fact that he had all those emotions going through him when Dana White told him, hey, man, he popped, again, he's not gonna he's gonna have to vacate or whatever. I can understand from Daniel Cormier's perspective. I can understand why he would be pissed. But let's take Daniel Cormier out of the second. The statement that he made, if we're gonna be completely objective about it, he's not entirely wrong. Like, when you have the amount of complaints that Jon Jones has had from fans and even USADA, for an example, the amount of times that he's been popped, his piss has been hot. Some of the moves that he was using, kind of on the dirtier side. The oblique kicks, that's legal. That's legal. I'm gonna give you that. The toe stomps, that's more dickish. It's not necessarily dirty. The eye pokes, nah. At that point, I'm like, yeah, your career definitely goes into the studio. And look, I will agree with you. If Jon Jones were to have done another match with DC, let's say he didn't pop. If Jon Jones were to rematch DC in that time frame that he should have been viable for the light heavyweight title, I would agree with you. Jon Jones would have been able to beat him. Like 90%, 10%, he would have been able to beat him. But my thing is, I think that further lengthens the argument of, okay, if there was a pretty damn sure 90% chance that Jon Jones wanted to beat him, then why were the steroids necessary? Why were the picograms necessary? If Jon Jones actually was this type of dude, and I will give it to you, Jon Jones was that fighter. But my thing is, if he was that fighter, why were the steroids necessary? If you were that kind of guy, why would you even call into question the steroids thing? And here's the thing. No matter who you are, and I don't care who you are, if you get popped once for steroids, I'll even give you twice. If you get popped twice for steroids, your entire career comes into question. Look at what happened with TJ Dillashaw. What's his new nickname? Papa Pillashaw. And keep in mind, he got hit like once, and already his entire career has come into question. So my thing is, you got popped once. Now people are asking, okay, but how long has it been going on? If he's getting popped now, why now, and why specifically against this person? Why specifically against DC if you didn't think you had all that it had to take?
Listen, man, again, I'm not disagreeing with the argument. If you want to question if Jon Jones is really the greatest of all time, based on a number of things, the steroids, the cheating allegations, the clear, and he admitted it, evasion of VADA, all that good stuff, the eye pokes, all that. It's a fair argument to have. That being said, again, DC shouldn't be making the argument. Again, listen, I got respect for DC. He's a two division champion, a phenomenal wrestler. I can list the accolades, so on and so on and so on. That being said, listen, if you really, do y'all really think the man didn't come off as bitter? Because he came off as bitter to me, and I think that's what makes it worse when you have somebody like DC in a commentary sort of point. Because can he really be unbiased if he's going to, for example, commentate on the Stipe Jon Jones fight in November? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't know if he can be. So I think stuff like that definitely makes it really difficult for someone like DC to have an unbiased and a fair conversation about who the potential GOAT is. And whether DC likes it or not, Jon Jones is in that conversation. Again, I, to a degree, would definitely agree with DC that the Michael Jordan, I feel like Michael Jordan carried much more weight to basketball than Jon Jones does to UFC. But listen, basketball has been a sport for ages and ages and ages now, whereas, we're just coming up on, 20, 30 years of UFC. Hasn't been that long. So with that being said, I get it. But, again, just DC's not the one that should be making this argument. Just take a step out of this one, man. I do think Usman was riding a little bit too much for Jon Jones, but DC definitely came off as bitter. I think the man needs to let that go. Anything else you want to add to that, my man?
Listen, man, as far as GOAT conversations go, like there definitely is there's definitely some people in the GOAT conversation that have their share of controversies. I understand with GSP there was the grease skate that he had. What was it against Condit? Was it Carlos Condit? I can, but that and the weight discrepancy between his fight with Nick Diaz. So I understand, but those are the only two ones. I think the one for Demetrius Johnson was the split decision win over Henry Cejudo. I believe it was a split decision win. So I understand, but compare those controversies to, again, the amount of eye pokes that Jon Jones has had, the amount of times that he's pissed hot, the vacation of the title, and how long.
Listen, man, you're arguing the point over and over, but we're not arguing that. We're just saying, is DC the one? Again, I'm not saying you can't have the debate on whether Jon Jones is or is not the Michael Jordan of the UFC, but is DC the one to have this argument?
But was he said wrong? Yeah, DC is a sour person. I will agree with you in that. But at the same time, I don't feel like what he said was 100% wrong.
But you're missing the point. You're missing the point. I'm not disagreeing that Jon Jones is not the Michael Jordan. That's not the argument we're having. Is DC the one? Again, I get where you're going. Don't disagree with it one bit. But I feel like you're harping too much on what he was saying. And I feel like I'm more arguing that DC's not the one that should make him the argument. Not disagreeing with the argument, just with the person delivering the argument.
Okay, then I can see where you're coming from. Yeah, DC's not the one to make the argument. I agree with you.
Yeah, man. A GSP, fuck, man. Even Khabib, when people are saying, he didn't defend enough, he didn't fight enough top talent in the UFC, so on and so forth. Even he, you can say, has controversies. And realistically, the GSP controversies, the Demetrius Johnson controversies, everyone's controversies compared to Jon Jones, not even close. Not even close. Again, listen, I'm not against people that have the argument saying he is the Michael Jordan of the UFC. I'm also not necessarily against the argument that he's not. But DC shouldn't be in this argument. No disrespect, DC. And with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
Until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next one.